Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my latest video. Today I am continuing to work on my kind of a little bit of a grungy vintage journal start to finish. And most of it I am filming on camera. There's a couple things, like I've said before, that I am doing off camera, like sewing some things, but I'm making sure that I tell you guys exactly what I'm doing so that you don't miss any of my steps. And the other day we started working on like journal cards and tags for some of the different pages. So I know this was one that we did. And as I was going through this morning, trying to decide what I was going to work on today, I felt like this one was just missing something. We did add the little trim to the bottom and the little paper clip at the top. And I just felt like this one, just being one that you look at when you page through, even if it was just something simple like adding just another little label on it or a stamp thing. And I think I'm just going to add a label to it. And I have a couple of these Tim Holtz labels sitting here on my desk, so I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm not going to think about it too much. So I did take yesterday off, but you guys will have seen everything in order. I'll post one video a day of working on this journal, but I did take yesterday off. My husband and I ran to town and did a couple of groceries shopping, and he wanted to stop at the sporting goods store, and I needed to go to the post office to mail some Happy Mail, so we did that, and just did a couple of things. And for us, you know, sometimes since we live out we live on a lake, but it's a ways away from the town where there actually is like a grocery store and stuff. So it's always kind of at least a part of a day process if we do run to town to pick up the mail and do stuff like that. So then when we got back, we ate lunch, and like I said, he talked me into going fishing, so that was kind of our rest of our evening. And then when we got back in from fishing, we watched TV, but we went out fishing probably, we started gathering all of our stuff like at 1 o'clock after lunch, and then, you know, we walk out to where we go on our lake, so that takes a few minutes, and then my husband has to set up all the holes and different stuff, and it's kind of a process. I know he enjoys fishing, and I don't mind fishing, but like I told him, I said I enjoy fishing, but if I have a choice, I'd rather sit and craft than I would fishing. But it's important, you know, to do stuff as a couple, and he sometimes does stuff that he doesn't necessarily want to do with me. Like if we're somewhere and I want to go antique shopping or check out a thrift store, he'll do it, even though it's not his most favorite thing to do. So again, the other day we had made 2 tags for in this tuck spot, and I decided just to put one in. I did go ahead and put in just a little red ribbon up at the top of that one, and I just felt like it was too much to have 2 in there at this moment in time. And so then we did have this other tuck spot here, and I had planned on something else to go in there, but I decided to put this other one that we created yesterday or the other day together. The only thing I did add was I folded up a piece of snippet. You can see this side even had a hole in it right there. But it's perfect to create a little tab at the top. So I think that'll fit into that pocket. So those pages are kind of done. And so I'm just going to set this part aside for right now. We'll just continue to work on this little bit here because we need something here. And I had an idea for that. And while I was warming up the craft room with the furnace being on, I did go ahead and I sewed down some ephemera onto a piece of coffee dyed paper. I don't know if I'll use these or not, but I sewed them down just so that they would have backings on them. At least a start. But this one right here is the one I thought would work nicely into this little pocket right here. So I did glue it down, and then I sewed around the edges, and then I also added this little tulle trim up at the top. This one I'm going to have to kind of rough the edges. This one was a digital that I had left over from some other past project. I will link the company below. I think it's called Nostalgic Graphic Land. I'm pretty sure that that's what this one is. But if not, I'll mention it. And I'm going to ink the edges. I didn't obviously do that, so let's ink the edges first off. And this one already kind of has like a grungy edge to it that I still need to make a little grungier, just the way the digital was made. And maybe I'll use my scissors, I think, to try and distress the edges a little bit more. And right now what I'm going to try to do is wherever the digital has indentations on it, that's for sure where I'm going to try to really rough it up in those spots, like it's old and tattered and worn. And then I'll go back through again with the distress ink. So yeah, we had my husband and I, like I said, we had a good time fishing last night. He gets so intense. I mean, he really enjoys fishing, and you know, he has a little bit more, you know, a little more intensity when it comes to fishing, where when I grew up, it was just kind of something fun. And my husband does, you know, catch a lot of fish for us because we do eat it for meals. So as we were fishing last night or yesterday afternoon, it's like we were fishing for crappie fish, kind of like they're a little bit bigger than sunfish if people aren't aware of what type of fish they are. And he had caught some the night before and did pretty well, so he wanted me to go out and fish with him. So we did do that. And it was kind of funny though, because he was like telling me how I was doing it, and I was doing it wrong, because the first one that I pulled up through the ice hole, I lost, you know. So he's like, you got to do this. And then it was kind of funny because the next time I did it, and of course I did it wrong again. I was supposed to like reel and then hook it, just because he had some slack in it or something, and we were fishing on a bobber, and and it was funny because then I ended up catching like the majority of the fish that we caught last night, and I was doing it wrong. So I just told him that's kind of funny that, you know, that I caught the majority of them, so I was probably doing something right. Just the way they were biting, they were a little more finicky last night, but it worked out. So I think I ended up catching, I think we caught a total of 5 fish, and four of them I caught, and then I lost one, but he lost like 3 or 4, so so that was kind of funny. But yeah, so, you know, we haven't gotten as much snow as we usually do in Minnesota, so the lake doesn't have a lot of snow on it, and it's kind of eerie because in certain spots, there's like where the wind is blowing the snow off, you can actually see like the ice and underneath the water, so it's kind of eerie walking on the ice, but it's thick enough to walk on, so. And then in Minnesota too, we fish like from, you know, we went out at about like 1 o'clock and we fished until close to 6. And in Minnesota this time of year, it gets really dark. So by 5 o'clock, it was almost pitch black outside. And of course, we'd forgotten to turn the lights on in our cabin, so that didn't help. But some of our neighbors next to us, you know, they're still quite a ways away, but they had their lights on, so at least we could orientate ourselves to which way we needed to walk to without having to walk too much extra. We do carry like headlamps when we fish at night. So, I mean, we had lamps on our, you know, like little flashlight things that you put on your head. We had those on our head. So, so that was good, so we could see. But, and of course we had fish for supper then, fresh fish, after we caught those few. So I think I want to add this little, another little Tim Holtz label. I could stamp something there if I wanted to. I do have some stamps, some more of those Sam Pool stamps sitting out, but just to make it go faster, we'll do that. I'm only going to, I think, I don't have a lot of time. I have my alarm set on my phone. Again, just I'm crafting right before lunch today, and just needed to make sure that I get up in time to help my husband with a few things for the meal. So I'm thinking I want to add something to the top of this. I really like adding like trims like this, like little gathered trims up at the top. It's so fun when you look at a journal and see that up on top. The back, I'm not going to do anything. You know, maybe I'll stamp one of the Tim, or not Tim Holtz, but I'll stamp one of the Sam Poole ones. And I just put a couple on the back of my block here. So I have like 4 of them. I have 2 blocks with 2 stamps each. So we'll see what this one says. I'll just randomly pick this one. So that one says Paris 1889, I think. So that'll work for the back side of that one, just to add a little interest, and then we'll be able to journal on the rest of it. Like I said, I just wanted to add a little something to the top of this one. I kind of like this. I'm just trying to think. I want to maybe put one more layer of something. So I have this doily. We'd used one of the butterflies earlier on that bingo card, and maybe I'll just cut off some of these little remnant things that are hanging here and see if they all connect. If they stay connected, that might be something kind of nice to add underneath, just as a little added interest. So I'm just going to glue that down. Probably need to use Fabri-Tac for this. I was going to grab my tacky glue. So I like how that looks. So I'm going to call that one done. So I think on this one, like I said, I decided I wasn't going to do anything on that page other than what's there. So I think all these pages, I think, are as done as I'm going to make them, so we can pull out the next page and see what else we can add to it. I'm getting anxious to get this journal done. So the next one is this old vintage writing, and I'm just going to leave that. So I'm going to put that up there. Then we have this coffee dyed one, and we've already added, you know, some stamping on it. Here we added, because I had to cover up, because the antique and collectible stamp kind of, the ink went through, so I covered that up with this the other day. And so I was thinking, I'm just going to put a couple small tags in there. And so I do have, whenever I get like scrap paper left over on my desk and I don't want to keep that scrap paper, oftentimes I'll die cut things or I'll paper punch things. And one of the things I often cut out is little tags. And so I kind of pulled forward the ones that looked like they might match this journal a little bit better. So I have this music one and then this other one. I like the music one. I like this one with a chandelier too. I also have a couple tags in here that came from like a store-bought kit. So I was thinking maybe I could put one of the bigger ones and one of the smaller ones in it. I'm just making sure that I don't like something else different. So I think that'll work. And this one's kind of thin. I have some in here too that are just white, that I punched out that were white. So I think I'm just going to back that one. You know, I'd prefer to have tea-dyed paper on the back, but I don't want to go grab my punch. So I'm just going to use that white one and we'll just grunge it up a little bit. We'll maybe use this one on something else in the journal because I do like that one. So maybe the first thing I need to do is just glue this to the back. So I like that. So let's go ahead and ink the edges. And then I just need a scrap piece of paper or something. I'm just going to lightly take my distressing thing sponge, and I'm just going to ink the whole back of it so that now it looks kind of like it's been tea dyed. And let's go ahead and stamp another one of these Sampool stamps on the back, just to add a little interest. Then let's stamp another Sampool stamp on the back of this one also, just to add some interest on the back of this one while I'm stamping. I always find it nice when you're doing journals to have, you know, some things that you can make yourself, but then also to have like a few store-bought things like this that are easy just to tuck in, or bits and pieces left over from past journals that you've made. So I think that'll work nicely in there as the little tuck spot. That. I'm trying to decide if I need to do anything back on this side or not, just to add a little bit of interest. Still have some more of those Tim Holtz labels. Playing with some of the scraps on my, we'll just do that on my desk here. So that's the one I picked out. Doesn't really matter which one you pick out, but that one just has a little bit bolder writing on it, a little bit blacker. That's why I chose that one, I guess. Okay, so my Fabri-Tac. And this is just a remnant when we made the lace pocket in this journal. That was just like the hemmed area. So I still have some of these little scraps sitting on my desk, so might as well use them up. Just trying to see if I have any eyelash trim that we'll add the eyelash trim to. I have a little piece sitting here. I wanted more of my tan colored one, but I don't see that sitting on my desk. I must have put it away. So I like that. That's cute. So I don't think I need to do anything else with this page, so we'll set that on top of the pile and see what's next. So I have music sheet. I'm not going to do anything with that on any of them. You could, if my journal wasn't getting so fat, I would be tempted to add, you know, something up in the corner, kind of like what we did on that last thing. I would add something up on the top. And maybe we will. I don't know. Yeah, let's go ahead and add some interest to it. You know, it doesn't have to be much. Just, we'll just add something on a couple of the sides. So again, I'll just use a little bit of the Fabri-Tac. Trying to see which side's the front and the back. Then maybe I'll try and do something on this side too. Seeing what I have randomly sitting on my desk here that would work. This came off of a doily. I took the middle out of it. And used it for something. So this is just the remnants, but I always think they look kind of cool with the little remnants hanging off of pages or tags. All right. So we'll put that into the pile here. And then the next page is, and then I stuck a couple things in this one, so we attached that the other day. And I'm going to leave that. I'm not going to do anything else to this page. And then we need to add something to the pockets. So again, when I was warming up the craft room with the furnace, I took a couple of digitals that I had left over from a past project. These ones I believe came from Lorna Taylor, which is Tailor Made Journals. And she has some little vintage stuff. So I'm pretty sure that they came from her. But not 100%. There's a lot of digital companies out there nowadays that have the scanned in copies of different digital postcards and ledger papers and receipts. So this is a postcard, and this one is like a receipt of some sort. Looks like I'm got a few minutes left here. So I'm going to ink the edges. Then I'm going to rough them up just a little bit using one of my distress tools. Again, if you don't have one of these, just take the edge of your scissors and distress it. This is probably my favorite one. This one that came from Close to My Heart. I don't know if they still make it or even if Close to My Heart is still around. It's like a company similar to Stampin' Up. I used to, way back when, belong to a group where we met once a month, and then we all took turns being the hostess. We all had to commit to buying a certain number of months worth of product, and we take turns being the hostess so that we get the hostess gifts. And the lady, which her name was Mary Jo, it was always at her house, and you know, she was the rep from Close to My Heart. So she always had a project for us to make, you know, different cards and stuff. But I remember buying this at one of those parties. And I did that for about 2 years. That was when I lived back in Fargo. That was kind of the downside of moving to where we are now. Kind of in the middle of nowhere. But we do love enjoying living at the lake. So I wouldn't have it any other way, I guess. I enjoy the outdoors and the views, and it's quieter than in town, definitely. You know, this time of year we do live on a lake, and our lake is a little bit quieter than most lakes, I think, in Minnesota. Our side of the lake, I think there's only 4 or 5 people, and between all of us, we own the land. And so where there isn't cabins, nobody really plans on building, and it's kind of an unspoken rule that if for some reason anybody decides that they need to sell their cabin or their land, that they offer it up to the other people that are living on this side, just because we want to kind of keep it a little bit more natural and not so many buildings. The other side of the lake has a lot more buildings, but it's still pretty quiet. Usually the only weekends that are really busy in the summer are like the holiday weekends, like 4th of July and Labor Day and Memorial Day are kind of the big ones. Otherwise it's fairly quiet, and this time of year there's hardly anybody that's on the lake. We live here full time, and then there's another couple that live past us on our road that lives full time. And then still on our side of the lake, but it's on a different road to access her house. An older lady who lost her husband a while back. She still lives there too. This winter, though, she's chosen to rent something in town and not live out at the lake, just with all the, the potential of the snow and stuff. It just got to be too much for her last year on her own. So that's what she chose to do. So it's pretty quiet. Like I said, we don't have too many people. Some of our other neighbors on our side of the lake, they do come out maybe once a month or something and spend a day or two. But they're not here full time. So I was thinking I'd stick these into the pockets. So we have 2 pockets up here. And I would like to add something to them. So what I think I'm going to do, and I'll have to do that off camera, is I still have some more of this trim up here, this tool trim. So I think I'm going to add that one to this top pocket right here, and that trim's actually sitting on my sewing machine. And so this one, I just maybe just want to put just one little tab of lace or something up at the top. Or I have this fun, you know, still that came off of some other type of linen. I could add that up at the top. I think I'm just going to add just a lace tab on that one. I think that'll look nice. So I'll just sew that down right there. And then this one will have the frilly one up on top. So that's all I'm going to do on those. I'm not going to do anything more. I could stamp on the backs of these, I guess. Well, this one I do have this postal card stamp, so we could stamp that one, I guess, on the back of this one. So that works. And this one right here comes from a company called Scrap Club. I think I picked it up at a rummage sale because I wasn't part of that. But I think Scrap Club had like a monthly kit thing where they sent stuff out. And this one came from 2004. But like I said, I used to buy and I still buy stuff at thrift stores and rummage sales. So again, I'll add ephemera to that. I'll try and take a picture of this stuff when I'm done, and I'll use that as my thumbnail just so you know what they kind of look like. And this one, let's just stamp another one of Sam Poole's stamps. I think this one is just a number. Hopefully I have it the right way. Yep. Just adds a little bit of interest, I guess. So that'll work. So I'll finish those up off camera. And it looks like with the time I have to take off to get ready for lunch here. So when we come back, we'll finish this side. Tomorrow we'll finish this side, and then we'll keep on working on the rest of the pages. Like I said, I have some more ideas. I have some stuff that I've already stuck in some of the pockets for us to work on. Some layering stuff and just little bits and pieces. So thank you again, everybody, so much for watching, and I will be back again tomorrow with another episode of continuing to work on this journal. So thank you again so much for watching, and until then, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and happy crafting.